When you're watching the Guardians of the Galaxy, there was something in the air in 2014. A huge, there was just a shift that year for Marvel movies. I don't know what it was. Two back-to-back hits. I mean, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and then the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, they gave us a character that you didn't really that you thought would be a little bit stale, and he makes one of the best comic book movies. And then you got the Guardians of the Galaxy, who were complete unknowns. All right, I had no idea who these people were, but I knew it was a Marvel comic book movie, so I was like, you know what, let me go watch that one. That movie, I remember so vividly going to the movie theater to see it. I didn't have any expectations for it. I just only knew the trailers, and it was it was mainly Rocket and Groot fighting in the prison. You know what I'm talking about? They kept on showing that in the trailer of Rocket shooting the gun and Groot being all mad and yelling and stuff. And then everything after that, it was all kind of just the rest of the trailer. But I gotta say, dude, rewatching this movie brought me back to 2014. It was so good. It was so much fun. And I watched this movie. I think I watched it 3 times in theaters. I could be wrong. Probably twice, but I just remember everything about the movie just stuck with me. The soundtrack was great. The actors were great. Casting, the color of the movie was great. The story was cool. You know what I mean? The characters were on point. A huge shout out to James Gunn for basically putting this all together and making them a team, or just putting them all together and making sure that they were really taken care of, or they brought out the best of them in such a short amount of time. You know what I'm saying? Rewatching it, when I first watched the movie back in 2014, I would tell you that my favorite characters were Star-Lord and Groot. But now rewatching it, I feel like I have so much of I still like Star-Lord, but definitely Rocket was a huge highlight for me in this movie. And then Gamora and Drax are cool too. They're pretty nice, you know what I mean? They do a good job in this movie. I just, for some reason right now, rewatching the Guardians of the Galaxy, Rocket is definitely he's the character that you pay attention to the most, because he's so interesting. He's so cool, and he's so he's such a character that can carry himself. You know what I'm saying? He gets it done. You know what I mean? When he has a goal in mind, he gets the job done. I feel like Star-Lord just he's sneaky, and he gets away with a lot from, obviously right time, right timing, and I guess smooth talking. But anyways, the opening to this movie, we show Peter Quill. I don't remember exactly how old he was when he got kidnapped by Yondu and the Ravagers. I want to say he was 10 years old, maybe, but I could be wrong. He could have been older, it's all that really matters is that he was a kid. That's all that really matters, is he was a kid who got abducted at a young age. And went up to space and all of that. I wish they had shown a little bit more of him on Earth. I mean, not on Earth, but just kind of maybe his day-to-day life with his mom, and then they cut to her having, maybe they could have started off with a bit of a memory of Peter's best time with his mom and the music that they shared. And then cut to him in the hospital and his mom on her deathbed with the cancer. You know what I'm saying? That, I feel like that would have been a good thing, but I'm happy with what we got, And I definitely feel for Peter when he was just it's a little bit hard to be how do you deal with death? How do you, at a young age, you learn about it and then are confronted with it at such a young age. How do you deal with that, How do you deal with parental issues when your dad's not there? How do you deal with your mom dying in front of you? And then on top of all of that, we see Peter get kidnapped at the end of it all. You know, he's grieving. He just lost his mom. His grandparents are like suffering as well. He doesn't really get to connect with her anymore. And then he gets kidnapped and taken away, and it's like, well, now what? It's really sad when you think about it in that way. If you look at it from like just a human perspective, Peter got kidnapped, right? And he vanished, and nobody has heard from him for 20 something years. You know what I mean? That's a sad story. But then, they cut to him now being a sort of pirate, a space pirate, and now he's out there dancing and singing to his Walkman. I just really like the nostalgia that they added to this, you know what I mean? They gave him all of those 80s, 70s references to work with, right? And a part of me was kind of like, how much pop culture, how much like Earth does he know about? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how much of that does he even really remember? Because they make it a point where he like talks about all the movies that he loves growing up, but we don't really get to see like those movies stick with him forever. You know what I'm saying? So movies like Footloose, those ones are really big ones. And then he talks about having a Jackson Pollock painting. I was just like, what? He was like a kid. You know what I mean? How into art was he as a kid? You know what I'm saying? But I guess you just have to believe that he has a basic understanding or an idea of like pop culture or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Anyways, and then when you really think about it, he only had that awesome mixtape volume 1 for like 20 years because he didn't even open the second one until 20 years later. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of crazy when you think about how much he holds on to that first mixtape, but he doesn't like find any new music. You know what I mean? Like 20 years with just the same mixtape over and over and over again. It's kind of wild, but they're good songs. So I'm happy about that. But anyways, we see Peter and he's like on this random planet. I forget the name of it. And he finds this orb. And I just really like that opening sequence when the title shows up. And he's dancing, he's lip syncing to the song, he's having fun with it. He's like playing with those little rat thingies, alien whatevers. I just really love that title sequence. It was just so fun and playful. And immediately I liked Peter. He was goofy, he was silly, and then he goes into thievery. He goes into stealing the orb and taking it, and then he gets chased by Ronan's henchman. There it is. I was going to say like his men, but okay, anyways, henchmen. He goes into his henchmen going after him. And I just really like it. Just set the tone for the whole movie pretty early on. First they established Peter Quill's character, right? His attachment to his mom dying, getting kidnapped, and then we get into this space world. And the thing that I love about this movie, what this movie does so brilliantly, is gives us space, but fun. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that should have been what Thor was supposed to be. Thor was supposed to be space, but instead of making it fun or like different or anything unique, we kept on going back and forth between Earth and space and Asgard, and we don't really get to explore or to like travel outside of Asgard or do anything crazy. So I was just kind of disappointed with that. It was also the tone wasn't as comedic or as fun as this Guardians of the Galaxy. It also wasn't as colorful and as entertaining to watch. I feel like the soundtrack definitely added a huge quality to space. I also feel like these characters they don't have to be like these regal gods. They can just be regular aliens / people, and because they're so unique and different, they're free. You know what I mean? They're a lot more what's the right word? They're a lot more without limits on them. You know, I feel like Thor has, from Thor and Thor the Dark World, there were limits put on him. He has to be like this regal kind of person. He doesn't get to be like this space pirate like Peter Quill, you know? He doesn't get to be that. All he gets to be is Odin's son. He gets to be like the heir to the throne, the next king of Asgard, right? Like he has this demeanor about him in that way. And that works, you know? I think that definitely is cool. That's an aspect of it, but it's not, I don't know, how do I put it? It's just, it's not as joyful or as fun or interesting as maybe, I guess put it this way, it's a lot more fun to watch bad people do bad things or like thieves steal stuff than it is to watch like a Prince Goody Two Shoes fighting a. I mean, that's the crazy thing is it space should be like a huge adventure. It should be like there's a 9-realm war that Thor is trying to solve, and we don't get a lot into that. You know what I mean? Like that's the disappointing part. But anyways, moving on, we see Peter take the orb, and then now he has to go sell it, and there are a lot of people interested in that orb. And what I like about it, it's not a whatchamacallit. I think that the orb is a great starting point for the whole story, is that it isn't just a what is the right word? It's not just a random item to be pawned. It's that it's so important to the overall story of the Marvel Universe that it becomes, you know, instead of it just becoming like this random item that Star-Lord pawns off, right? It becomes this central part of the story that they're building, you know? So that opening sequence is so important, but we don't know that it's important. That's the cool thing about it, is that like sometimes you just come across huge things and you don't even know that it's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was, when I go back and I rewatch that sequence and watch how he comes across the orb and to figure out what's inside of it, it's completely different to the other quote unquote Infinity Stones that we see throughout the Marvel movies, you know? And the Tesseract is always around. The ether was kind of like, you know, just like this liquid thing that they also came across, but it was kind of like in a weird way they introduced it. And then now this Infinity Stone is stolen. Well, he was supposed to like get it with the Ravagers and then sell it at a high price. But anyways, he gets it on his own. And I thought that was cool. So now everybody wants this orb, and Peter's trying to sell it. So Ronan, the new Kree, he's like a Kree, the leader, I think he's like the leader of the Kree, or like he's just he's a Kree, okay? I'm trying to get this right. His alien race is known as the Kree, okay? And he doesn't rule them per se. He's just somebody who hates the Xandarians, you know what I'm saying? He's a racist, really. You know what I mean? He doesn't like the Xandarians. He's very Kree heavy. So because of that, he works, basically he's just a bad guy, but he works for Thanos, and Thanos is going to help him kill the Xandarians. And that's the basic idea. He's not all that, I would say Ronan is not all that interesting, but he is a Ronan is your basic villain, but he's not after anything. We don't get a whole lot of depth to him, is what I'm trying to say. He's not. He's all he is on the surface. He hates the Xandarians, and he'll do whatever it takes to kill them. So if getting the orb for Thanos will mean the end of the Xandarians, then so be it, right? And that's why he's this. I mean, I kind of like that one-dimensional villain for him, you know? I kind of like that for him. It works, you know? So anyways, Ronan sends Nebula, but then Gamora's like, no, I'm going to do it. And then she goes out there, and we get to see what Xandar is like, and that's where Peter, Gamora, Rocket, and Groot are. So everything happens on Xandar. So Peter gets to Xandar to sell the orb to one of the to his buyer, who's like this antique shop guy, and then eventually he finds out that he can't just sell the orb all on his lonesome because there are a lot of people who want that item. And if he's caught buying it, he's probably going to die, more than likely. So he has to get out of there. He pushes Peter outside, and then Gamora's waiting out there, and she's there to steal the orb. Rocket finds out that there's a bounty on Quill because he stole the orb from the Ravagers, led by Yondu, and now they put a bounty on his head so that way he could be found, and they'll only get the bounty if he's kept alive. So Rocket and Groot come across the bounty on Quill for 40,000 units, and they're really interested in getting that money. Also, Stan Lee cameo, Rocket looking at Stan Lee, just, you know what I mean, just talking to a baddie on Xandar, just trying to, you know what I mean, flirting it up, you know what I'm saying? I thought that was a funny moment. And Rocket's calling him like a perv. I thought that was funny. I just really like that they were all right there. And Rocket's main goal is to make money. Now, I will explain to you how I just get frustrated with that because we'll see later. I'll talk about it later on. But anyways, right now, Rocket wants to kidnap Peter so that way he can deliver him to Yondu for 40,000 units. Gamora's there to steal the orb from Peter, and Groot is helping out Rocket, okay? Now, Peter just realized he's not going to be able to sell the orb that he was trying to... that he basically betrayed the Ravagers for, betrayed Yondu and all of them. So now, he's like at a dead end. He's like, well, what do I do now? And then Gamora kicks him. They get into a fight. She steals the orb. They go back and forth. Groot's going after Peter, but Groot actually goes after Gamora instead. And Rocket's like in the mix of all of it, trying to figure out, what do I do? How do we kidnap Peter Quill, you know? And so little by little, we see them fighting each other and wreaking havoc across Xandar. And it's really fun to see Star-Lord use all of his gadgets to fight. We get to see Groot as a tree. We get to see Rocket holding guns. It's very... I mean, it's very comical. It's very fun. I like when Rocket is like, get him. And then Groot captures Gamora. He's like, no, not her. What are you doing, you tree? And then Groot's still doing it. It's like, no, you got the wrong person. She breaks out. Oh my gosh, that's just a funny moment. And then anyways, now after their big fight, they get caught by the Nova Corps, and basically now they're going to prison. Just from that one fight. So anyways, then we see John C. Reilly, and I was like, it's so funny to see him in this movie. I don't know why. I was just kind of like, man, what do they, you know, I thought it was just a very funny seeing him in this movie because I don't know, I'm just so used to seeing him in like rated R kind of comedies, and I was just watching this, I was like, oh no, like why is he doing this? You know what I'm saying? But anyways, they get taken to prison, and we kind of learn some background exposition on all of the characters, you know. We see what Rocket's about, what Groot's about, Gamora, like how all that comes to be. And we see them get taken to prison, And now they're in there. They're stuck in there, you know. And we see Peter like fighting the guards over his Walkman and the music, who obviously likes it because he has good taste in music, but they're like jabbing them with these electric poking sticks or whatever. And from the beginning, this is why I really like Rocket, is from the beginning, he makes it known that he can break out of this prison and he's going to make this prison his own. Like, that is just so cool to me. So as soon as they get in there, now they're fresh meat. And everybody's like they know who Gamora is. They're trying to tease Peter. And then Rocket gets Groot to basically stand up to the biggest guy in the room and make it known that Peter is theirs. Like, nobody else is going to get him or claim him. I just think it's so cool when a character, like, they basically protect their interests. So he wants to sell Peter to the Ravagers for 40K units. He got to make a statement to everybody in the prison. And I just find that moment so fun where Groot literally from that guy's nose picks him up, and then Rocket goes into this huge monologue and into this speech. Oh, hey, look at this. I just want to make one thing very clear. This guy here is our booty, all right? And anybody who gets in our way, is going to have to go through us. Or more importantly, we go through you. I just like that part. That was really cool. I may have messed up that line delivery, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, that's just cool. You know, that's fun. So anyways, they're in the prison and they got to survive the night. But first, Gamora's getting into trouble because Ronan killed a lot of families there, including Drax's. And when I was rewatching this movie, I realized that they took their time introducing Drax. But I'm glad they did it in the prison. And as I'm watching, I'm like, how did they get Drax? But anyways, I like the moment where Drax is involved because he's so literal and it's so funny. Dave Bautista, man, great casting. He's so good at this role. It's so hilarious, but it's also like he's really serious, you know what I'm saying? And he's like really buff and strong. It's the perfect mix. It's the perfect combo of everything, I think. And Drax is going to try to kill Gamora, but Peter talks him down, and now everybody's like, okay, this is what our situation is. Gamora's only left alive so that Drax can find Ronan and kill him. And then Gamora, Peter, Groot, and Rocket are going to escape the prison together so that Rocket can take Quill over to... basically so that way he can get the 40K units. But then... the cool thing about it is Peter didn't do it for no reason. He knows that he didn't save Gamora because he's goo goo eyes over her. He saved her because she knows how to sell the orb. And that's interesting to Peter. And then she unleashes a huge number on them. 4 billion units for the orb that Peter has. And Rocket's like, what? Everybody's looking up and they're like, crazy. So now... the new plan is they're breaking out of the prison to sell the orb that Peter stole, and they're going to split the money evenly between Groot, Gamora, Peter, and Rocket. So that means they each get a billion units. All right? Keep in mind, 1 billion units, each of them, okay? So now, Rocket has a plan to break out of the prison, okay? And he gets everybody to get various items throughout the prison. They need a Quantax battery, okay? They need the prison guards, like, manual controls. They each have, like, this, like, power arm with, like, controls to the prison. He needs one of those. And then he needs a guy's prosthetic leg. And then he finally... he needs to get up to the watchtower in order to take care of everything. So now everybody's like scrambling. out there to like break out, and Groot gets the Quantex battery first when it was supposed to be last, and then the whole prison shuts down into emergency mode, and now everybody's scrambling to get the job done. And that's so funny to me because it's like everybody has to think on their feet really quickly. So they get it first and then they improvise, and it was just quick time reactions to get everything they need. So now Rocket is like working to get up to the watchtower and to take care of everything, but then the prison guards start shooting. They start blasting, and now Rocket's in a weird position because he can't fight without any of his guns or his gear. So Groot has to carry the team, and it's looking dark, you know what I mean? But Drax steps up, he fights the prison guards and gives Rocket a gun, and then they start attacking everybody. They start going crazy. Gamora literally breaks a guy's arm off, one of the prison guards, to get that keypad that's on their arm. And then Peter has to get that prosthetic leg, which was really funny. You see them go through like this awesome action sequence for like everything. And then you see Peter like having a one-on-one conversation with the prisoner. He's like, "You need my what?" I thought that was so funny. That prison sequence is so good. And then they all get up to the watchtower, and Rocket is starting to get his plan into motion. And he turns off the artificial gravity. Everybody goes into zero gravity, and immediately he starts controlling the robots and everything in the facility, in the prison. And he like basically just makes a traveling watchtower, and they escape the prison. As easy as that. He escapes the prison, and now it's just a matter of getting the orb and all of their gear, running to Peter Quill's ship, and they leave. They escape. You know what I mean? That's it. That's as simple as that. But little do they know that Peter doesn't have his Walkman anymore. So now he's like, "Everybody get to my ship. I'll be right back. I'm going to go get my Walkman." He runs over to get his Walkman, and they think he gives them the orb as well, but he doesn't. And he beats up the guard that was like stabbing him with the electric pole or whatever. He gets his Walkman back, and he starts flying out in space to his spaceship with everybody else on it. And they're like, "Yes, he did it. He's back." You know what I'm saying? And Drax is like, what did you go back for?" And he gives him his Walkman, and he's like, "You're so stupid. Like, you're an imbecile." So now they have to go to the place to sell the orb, and they go to Nowhere, which, again, just a cool. When I saw the head visually, it was all green and it's space, but it's colorful. Like, I loved that. I thought that was so cool. The soundtrack was also really cool. I just felt like the place of Nowhere was a cool place to be. Inside the head of a Titan or whatever. I thought that was also really cool. Just a little bit of like behind the scenes lore, you know what I'm saying? So I thought that was cool. Like, that little piece of information throughout the space world it's just so different. It's so diverse. It's so cool compared to what we've been getting with Asgard and Thor. This one just made space more fun and exciting and dangerous, and so much more to it than these godly figures out there. It made it about, you know, a place where you can sell between people, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, they go to Nowhere, and now they have to wait for the Collector to meet with them so that they can sell the orb to him. So while they're on standby, while they're waiting, they basically just gamble and get drunk together, and they're having a grand old time, a blast. And then Gamora and Peter, they start, you know what I'm saying? They get a little one-on-one time, and Peter gets to show her his Walkman, you know? He gets to show her the Awesome Mix Volume 1. And he leans in pretty close, and you think it's this the tension is right there. You know what I mean? Something could have happened right then and there. But then Gamora wises up. You know what I mean? Puts a knife to his throat and goes like, "Oh yeah, you're not getting this green ussy. You know what I mean? You're not getting it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're definitely not getting this right off the rip. You know what I mean? You got to work for it." So as he's like chilling out, you know what I mean? He doesn't want to get killed. So he's like, okay, we're good. And that's when we get Rocket, Groot, and Drax fighting now. All of them drunk. Well, Drax and Rocket are drunk, and they're starting to yell at each other. And it's like, whoa. Peter's now trying to calm them down. He's like, don't kill each other, don't do it. And Rocket's emotional. You know what I mean? He gets emotional that people are disrespecting him all the time. They're so mean to him. They're calling him names and rodent and vermin. They're just like, they're ruthless to him. And he didn't ask for any of that. He didn't ask to be made or taken apart and put back together and stuff. So that's what makes him so interesting. Has like this tragic backstory, but he's still Rocket. You know what I'm saying? I feel for him. That's what makes him such an interesting character to me, and why I like him rewatching this. I mean, I liked him the first time, but I was definitely a lot more. I'm definitely known for having main character syndrome. I love the main characters. I've traditionally have always been like, I really like the main character, but now I'm starting to, you know what I mean, diversify. You know what I mean? I'm starting to like be less about. Just care about good characters, not just the main characters. Does that make sense? So, Rocket's a great character. Anyways, right at that moment, the Collector sends out his minion, or, well, technically his slave, but, you know, we're not going to use that word here. But he sends his female companion out for him, and she collects the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they go to sell the orb. And he basically breaks down the Infinity Stones. He shows us what we're working towards. And he starts talking about how they were concentrated points of reality when the universe was created, and they became power, mind, space, time, soul, and what was the last one? Reality. So he's just basically explaining a huge exposition for like the whole Infinity Saga right there. He's basically just explaining it to everybody, and I really like that. Finally, they get there, and it's time for them to sell it, right? It's time for the Collector to pay up 4 billion units, 1 billion for everybody, okay? And this is what we've been working toward. This was Rocket's goal, Peter's goal. I mean, it would have been in safe hands with the Collector, right? Away from Ronan. You know what I'm saying? Gamora would have won. Groot would have gotten his money. Everybody would have been happy. But then that lady, the slave, the female companion, okay? She grabs the stone. Now, I tell you, they should have gotten paid. All right? You forget that they didn't get paid, all right? Because then the story goes into motion, okay? But they were supposed to be paid, and they weren't. They were supposed to be paid, and they didn't get any money. Think about it. They spent that whole movie trying to get paid, and they didn't get a single unit. Darn it. That makes me so angry. That's the thing that angers me the most, is that if they had gotten paid first, all right, pay them, and then she grabs the Power Stone. All right? And then they take the orb back after they got paid. Like, that would have been so great. You know, not only do they give up the orb, right? But they get paid in the process. Like, it just disappointed me to no end that they didn't get paid. 4 billion units? Darn it, dude. Just because that girl, that pink girl, couldn't wait 2 seconds for the bread, you know what I mean? For the check to bounce, you know, for the check to slide through. It was so that pissed me off so badly. You have no idea. So anyways, while everybody's trying to sell the orb to the collector, Drax makes a call to Ronan and to Nebula and lets them know that they're on nowhere so that way he can fight Ronan. And now it's basically Ronan versus Drax, Nebula and Ronan's army or like team going after the Power Stone that Gamora wants to keep out of his hands so that way he doesn't give it to Thanos and he can get the Infinity Stones and can't wipe out the universe or whatever. So now it's just another big fight on nowhere in the space pods and they're fighting one another and they're having a... That's another cool part of this, right? We got a ground fight between the Guardians of the Galaxy. We got a prison escape sequence fight. And then we got a space pod fighting battle. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything kind of works out there. I really like it. We see Drax get... This is what bothered me. I thought Drax and Ronan should be at least, like, neck and neck. But they make Ronan so overpowered that it's like, Drax, no. Like, I wanted to see it be like a real brawl, like a real beatdown fight. And Ronan just barely escaped with his life, right? Just barely overpowers Drax. But instead, he overpowers him... And it doesn't even feel like a fair fight, you know? And that's what I don't like. I wanted it to be a fair brawl, you know? But it still served its purpose, right? Drax is outside of his element here. He's fighting based off of emotion, not off of righteousness, I guess, or whatever. You know, he's not in the right mind frame. He's doing it emotionally. So anyways, Gamora gets shot by Nebula and she's going to die out there in space. But at the last second, Peter gets out there and he gives her his helmet so that way she can breathe out there. And he's out there, dude. And they're about to die. And then Yondu comes and grabs him. And now it becomes like this whole... He saved her life, you know? I thought that was such a beautiful moment. He could have left her out there to die, but... He saved her, he got taken, and now I won't lie to you, I tried to hold my breath for as long as Peter was out there, but they were moving so slow on that, right? Like they take such a huge pause in that whole sequence, right? First he gets out there, then he takes off his helmet, gives it to Gamora, and then he's just looking at her right there, and then they bring him into the Ravager ship so slowly, and you're just like, you're running out of breath, you know? But anyways. Now, Peter and Gamora are kidnapped by the Ravagers. Nebula gives the stone to Ronan, and they leave. Drax is defeated and thrown into this yellow pool, which I thought was like chemicals, but it could have just been like space water. I don't know. But anyways, he gets thrown in there, and now Groot saves him, and they have to figure out what to do next. And Groot convinces Rocket to go save Peter and Gamora, and in order to save the galaxy and to stop Ronan, they have to do it together. Meanwhile, and there's also this funny moment where Rocket's kicking grass. He's like, "Ugh, you're making me kick grass." You see what I mean? Like he's just a perfect character. He's so fun. He's so great. He's so hilarious, but he's also like mean and tough. I think he's one of the best. So, anyways, Peter convinces Yondu not to kill them and to go after the stone so that they can sell it or whatever. And then Rocket and Groot and Drax show up to the Ravager ship and bargain for Peter and Gamora. But then Peter's like, whoa, Rocket, we're okay, we're good now. And Rocket's like, oh, hey, what's up, Quill? How you doing, huh? And then they try to come up with a plan to stop Ronan. And then they show up to Xandar, and now it's just a matter of... I like the plan. The plan is they have to keep Ronan off of the surface of the planet. So as soon as he touches down on Xandar, he can use the Power Stone and destroy the whole planet, essentially. But not before he takes the Infinity Stone for himself. He was supposed to give it to Thanos. Thanos was supposed to destroy Xandar. The end of story, right? But instead, he betrays Thanos and he says, "Oh, I'm going to kill all the Xandarians. And then Thanos, I'm going to kill you." I thought that was such a cool line. And I thought that what they did with Thanos in this movie was like give us a little intro to him, but don't give us the full, like they don't give us Thanos as the villain of this movie. It's Ronan, but we know that he's out there. And I really liked that. I thought that was really cool. I thought they did a great job with his character here. He's menacing and in control, and he's also just like one of those people that you know is dangerous, but we don't get to see it on full display. So anyways, the Guardians are going to Xandar to prepare for the fight with the Ravagers, to prepare against the fight with Ronan. And then it gets going, you know? It becomes a spaceship battle. It becomes, how do we get to Ronan's ship? We have to break in. Then we have to destroy. Then we have to attack Ronan. And we'll stop him before he gets down to on Earth. And they need backup. So Peter gives them a dick message. And then they start realizing that they can work together. And then the Nova Corps get involved. And everybody starts fighting together. I like that. So the first thing we see is, the first fight we see is Peter Quill versus Ronan's henchmen. Then we see the Xandar fight between the Guardians of the Galaxy. Then we get the prison escape fight. Then we get the Nowhere fight, which is them in the space pods. Then they get the final battle, which is up in the sky and in Ronan's ship. Like all of the fight sequences are so great. Like they're all different, you know? Before they had to fight with those space pods because they didn't have any machinery or any weaponry on them. Now they have to fight, and they get the full use of the Milano ship. They get the full use of the Ravagers and the Nova Corps, and against Ronan's huge ship, right? And then they have to break in there, and it all just comes together beautifully. So anyways, they make it onto the ship, and Yondu gets grounded. So now he's on the floor of Xandar, and he's about to get killed by Ronan's men. But then he unleashes his arrow whistle, right? His whistle arrow, and then he just destroys everything with that arrow. And that was just so cool to me. I thought that was such a unique way to fight that I had never seen before. Michael Rooker, man, as Yondu, what great casting. Just a great choice. So then the Guardians get onto the ship, and now they have to get towards Ronan. And they have like this great sequence where Groot unleashes well, first they crash into Ronan's ship, and Gamora says a funny line. She's like, "We're just like Kevin Bacon." I thought that was funny. And then Groot lets out like this, like these light spores, and then the soundtrack, the score. That was such a beautiful score. I think that's my favorite score in the movie, apart from the Guardians of the Galaxy theme. But that was such a beautiful moment. And we see Drax finally open up to everybody and call them friends and whatnot. And then we see Gamora versus Nebula. We see Drax, Groot, and Star-Lord versus Ronan's henchmen again, all fighting as a team now. They're moving through it. And then we kind of see Rocket trying to fight see Rocket and the Ravagers and the Nova Corps fighting against Ronan and everybody. And then finally, we get to the part where Peter, Gamora, Drax, and Groot all fight against, all finally face off against Ronan, and they blast him with that machine that Rocket made, and then it doesn't work. He doesn't get killed because he has the Power Stone. And then what happens? Rocket crashes into Ronan's ship, runs him over, and oh my gosh, that was so cool that he did that. Like that, again, he just taking chances, taking risks, you know what I mean? He's dangerous. So after that failed, Rocket slams into him, And now the Ronin ship is going down. It's going to crash onto Xandar. No telling if Ronin's dead or not, but, the ship is going down. And now finally, it seems like it's the end, It's going to be the end for them. But then Groot kind of protects them all, and it was a good sacrifice. He died protecting all of them. And it was so disappointing because I was like, I really liked Groot throughout the movie. He was so sweet, so kind, so gentle, so funny, without just naturally, not even linguistically, you know what I mean? He probably got some good jokes, but I can't understand Groot, you know what I'm saying? So it's just funny. It's cute. He's a great guy. So that was disappointing. But then, because of that, Rocket then stands up to Ronin again. And this time they don't go to hit Ronin. They go to hit the tool that he has to hold the Power Stone. And then they destroy it. Peter reaches for the Power Stone, grabs it, and he's like, ah! He's dying. And we get Gamora, Drax, Rocket all coming together to take the strength of the Infinity Stone. And Peter's able to hold it all together. And he blasts. He unleashes the Power Stone on Ronin. And then he kills him. End of it. He gets the Power Stone taken away from him. And then all's well that ends well, They survive. They're the Guardians of the Galaxy. Rocket starts growing a new Groot. Everything's going to be A-okay now. And I just have to say, this movie was so impactful. I think it still is one of the best Marvel movies. It's definitely a top tier movie. It's everything you want it to be. It's fun. It has a great soundtrack. The action is there. They have good characterization, great moments all throughout it. It has such a heavy emotion to it, and it makes it so relatable to bring all of these misfits together. They literally break out of prison, and I'm rooting for them, That's supposed to be a bad thing, but, it's one of those moments where it's just you really like the characters, and you would like to see them just do anything. So, shout out to James Gunn. Shout out to everybody on the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, this is top tier casting. Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon, great. You know what I mean? Vin Diesel as Groot, that is just hilarious. Dave Bautista, awesome as Drax. Zoe Saldana as Gamora, perfect. Chris Pratt as Star-Lord. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, overall, everything came together perfectly for that movie to be what it is. And the impact that over the years it has. I think that movie it's so good. It's so rewatchable. Has so many great scenes. I mean, this whole movie, each scene, you can find something to enjoy about it, no matter what. So, at the end of it all, Peter finally accepts his mother's gift, and he gets a new mixtape. He gets a new cassette tape, and we get a new soundtrack, and the movie ends. And am I blanking on the end credit scene? There was an end credit scene with Howard the Duck. Drax wants to kill Thanos now because Ronin was just a puppet. And what else is there? Was there anything else after that? I can't recall. No, I think that was it. So, Guardians of the Galaxy, top tier Marvel movie. Highlights are definitely Rocket, Groot, Star-Lord. Those are my top 3 characters. Well, I mean, if we're going to just do top 5, then it's just all of them. They all have great character moments. I think the prison escape sequence is probably the best thing that hooks you in. It really pulls you in and makes you root for them as a team. And yeah, I absolutely love this movie. It is amazing. And I've never met anybody who was just like, I don't like the Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, I had no idea who these guys were. And by the end of the movie, I wanted more. And I still want more from them. So, anyways, if you haven't seen the movie yet, I don't know what you're doing here. I basically spoiled the whole movie. But long story short, if you haven't seen this movie or if it's been a while since you last saw it, definitely go watch it. This is your sign to go see it, to go watch it. It's just that good. Rewatchability is high throughout the roof. So, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.